Business resizing, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Allow me to share my perspective from a sports point of view. Now, when it comes to crunch time, the time when it matters most, we have to select only 5 players from our entire roster because it's crunch time. It's 3 seconds left and we're down by 2. We're going to want to use our best option. And just because you are the option, it doesn't guarantee that you will be for the next one because situations will change. Like here, you've got 5 options. Choose the right one at the right time.
3 in the wind. Oh, it's good!
Now, isn't that just spectacular? If you want that to be you in the future, you've got to be prepared for it. There's people counting on you. So the same thing applies to us in the workforce. With resizing of companies, having people in and out of organizations, that would just make the talent pool develop and progress much faster than we were used to. Hence, raising the bar for goods and services alike. And what's not to like about that?
Hello. Welcome back, guys. Oh, James, what are you eating now?
Faiz says it's crunch time, so I'm crunching.
Oh, yes. Actually, that's a very good perspective, looking at business resizing in the perspective of sports. I thought that was interesting.
Even my bag of chips have resized.
It looks bigger.
Thanks.
It's supposed to go smaller, resizing smaller. Anyway, guys, welcome
Hello,
to
everyone.
another episode of CMA's HRTV. Well,
Hey,
hope
what's
you-
for lunch? What's for lunch? What's for lunch?
What's for lunch? Besides your bag of chips, which grew bigger in size, I had nice lunch. I wonder what our friends out there who are watching, having for lunch. Why don't you put in the chat group what you're having for lunch?
Hi,
Anything-
Azleen. Hi, Azleen, Osman, Gary.
How do you see everybody? I don't see anybody. I mean, of course, I see 23 people. Yeah. But how are you guys doing? I hope this whole lockdown, lock whatever is keeping you all fine. Well, like you guys know, the Olympics just ended, right? On Sunday. Yeah. And it was really a different one than previous, isn't it? The crowds were limited. Families and friends could only support virtually. But hey, it still went on and the athletes performed so well with full of enthusiasm and their results were amazing. It was
Congratulations to our own athletes. Amazing.
amazing. It was an Olympic like no other, I would say, right? Supporters. Sorry.
You know the funny thing, Sharif, that I was watching this boxing event between was it Ireland, and the ring side says Olympics 2020, Tokyo Olympics 2020. I'm like,
Oops. Scratch, something went wrong there. But it was quite interesting. Okay, despite that, I was watching the one basketball, how they use AI to test the circuit. It was so cute. Yo, sexy sassy in the house. Oh yeah.
ACG chair. Mama.
Anyway, it was so interesting because all the supporters from all over the world were fired up, and even social media like TikTok was giving us up-to-date live information. And well, like I said, it's different, but it was still so amazing, wasn't it, James?
You know why? It's because we've had enough of all this pandemic and this and counting down around. No, for once, let's enjoy sports. Let's support our country and go, yes, and take our mind away from lockdown, breakdown, whatever, down, and be up for once, yeah? And then recently, the Malaysian PM announced some benefits for those who have completed their second dose of vaccines. but only for those states that are in the phase 2 of our national recovery plan. But then again, Shireen, but that's not something that we comment much about since we are still in phase 1. I forgot. And the number of cases are still high. So one day it's like good, and then suddenly it's and then it's like stop it. Who's doing the counting? Can you please keep it at the low? Oh my goodness, it's still high.
It's still high, yes.
Yeah, anyway, if you are new here, HR Intervention is actually an online talk show where we interview HR experts like one we have today. I am super excited. They are HR experts, and they talk about everything and anything about that's related to HR and career development. We've covered some really important issues in the past, Shireen. Unconscious bias at the workplace, managing performance in the pandemic. And the last 2 weeks, we did an episode on engagement via empowerment.
Yeah, guys. So it's really fun stuff. We don't make it so serious. So if you need to watch the repetition of what has been done before, please hop on over to my YouTube channel, which is actually in the clicker below, which we put up in a while. So it's my YouTube, Shireen Kelly, and you can watch all the previous episodes. So basically,
tell us about our guests.
Wait, hang on. I want to invite everyone first. So, if you are, you see, you distracted me. Always distract me. And well, everyone who has a job, this HRTV is meant for you. Whether you are a management, top management, middle management, a business owner, or even HR, this show is definitely for you. So anyway, I like to see who's online now. If you are watching for the first...
Jessie is a HR personnel herself.
Oh,
gorgeous Jessie Chan. She is now a business owner by herself. Jessie, thank you for tuning in. She was my boss.
Oh, welcome, Jessie. So lovely to see you. And Jiva's an amazing person. Chow Mei, thank you for joining us. Although I know your schedule is so tight. Theo is also joining us. So nice to see you guys. And guys, if you don't comment on the comment section, we won't know that you're here. So help us comment. If you're a newbie, type hashtag newbie. And if you are someone who's coming back for our continuously for our sessions, then type HRTV and let us know where are you from, because sometimes we have people tuning in from US, we've got people tuning in from UAE, from Nepal, Bangladesh. We've got people from all over, so we won't know where you're from if you don't let us know. So let us know in the chat box below, please. So, well, let me introduce myself. I am Shireen Kelly, the Managing Director of Compass Mind Asia. Welcome, Satish. And let us know where you're from, Satish. And sorry.
Hello. And I is the ever long-suffering co-host, James Sashi, Manager of Learning and Development. And this is HR Intervention episode
12. Yes.
Anyway, just joined us. Welcome everyone who are tuning into our HRTV. I can see Alan Roslan. What a glamorous name, Alan Roslan.
Alan Yo Roslan.
Wow. Welcome. And Afisa Idris, Renu Sidhu, Jennifer, KI or is it KL?
KL. I think.
How are all of you guys doing? What are you guys having for lunch? Earlier I said I was having fins because I just drove back from JB And I was telling Shireen, it took me 5 hours. I purposely drove really slowly, enjoying the weather and the sunrise. It was beautiful. Put everything behind you, and we've got some beautiful sceneries in our highways, but which we don't really, but when the sun rises and all that. But enough about that. We hope that all of you are doing fine and staying safe. The cases are high. And death rate, forget about that. It's really whatever. But for us who are still healthy and alive, we should really appreciate our loved ones, connect with them while we can, even virtually if you have to.
Yeah.
So Shireen, you are one of my loved ones as well.
Oh, you too. You touch my heart. Wait. Heart on the other which side? Well, Jessie has just put this dream into me. She says she is in belief that she's logging in from Mauritius. I wish the same to Jessie. I was just telling one of my colleagues today, I have a mantra: work hard, play hard. And the play hard is usually traveling.
Yeah.
It's like work hard and travel nowhere. But,
I'm in Bali.
Okay, I'll be in New Zealand, where it's calm with snow, and I'm doing the slide, down the slope on the snow mountain, passing through Arthur's Pass. Okay, enough of the dream. Now let's come back to the show. Well, as you guys can see, the show is a very interactive one.
Yes.
Because we want you guys are there to make it so interactive with us. So you keep your comments coming.
I like Afiza Olbi.
Olbi, yeah.
Olbi. And if you're an Olbi, #Olbi.
Yes, if you come here many times, #Olbi. No more #HRTV. So,
Tilashini Lechmanan, welcome, Tila. How are you?
Tilashini, Paysan, Jennifer, Yash, David. He says he's newbie, but I've seen him before here, I think. And
Maybe
then
he's got a new name.
Oh, yeah.
The pandemic changes a lot of things. Maybe change his name.
New name. Anyway, speaking of which, our topic for today, who can guess? I mean, it's all over the screen, but I'll still tell you anyway.
I guess. Look, I guess.
How to become fluent. Yeah, you're right. So it's business resizing in the pandemic. But
and it's no joke. And it's no joke. It's a serious business.
Okay, but we're not going to make it so serious, okay, James?
No.
Okay. So before we go on further, shall we bring in our guest for today?
Yes.
Yeah, our guest for today is, let me introduce you to him. He's a human resource. Yeah, can we have a drum roll? The Human Resource General Manager of Hartalega Holdings, Berhad. Please help me welcome Arul Kumar.
Hello. Mr. Arul, how are you?
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
All right. Feeling great today?
Yeah. I just feel I'm in the Disney Cartoon Network program.
Cartoon, do we look like Mickey and Minnie?
Mickey is there, Minnie is here. Anyway, Arul, you were previously the Human Resource Director at Infineon Technologies,
Yes.
is that right?
That's true.
That's interesting. How many years ago was that?
Well, I was with Infineon total about 10 years, almost 10 years, about 9.5 years. Then I stepped out to do something of my own and then came over to Hartalega.
Wonderful. So nice. What an experience. What a journey.
Yep.
Okay, guys, a bit more about Arul. I did some research as well. He has over 21 years. He may look 21, but he has over 21 years of experience in education and training, something that both me and Shireen can relate to. And we have scored big with Arul. Not to say that our guests previously are big, but we are getting bigger and bigger, like our audience. Amazing personalities that we have. Arul has taken various roles heading recruitment, talent management, employee relations, training and development, and HR business partnering, HRBP. Arul is also the co-founder of Malaysia HR Forum on Facebook. a platform to connect HR professionals in Malaysia and to upskill them. He is also an avid reader and speaks on speaks in numerous engagements and has a passion to guide young graduates. Arul has also experience in 2 tech startups. Wow, that's what you did in between jobs, right? Startups. Wow, this is amazing, Arul. I mean, in this 21 years of age, ding, can you tell us more about this startups? How about the other side of you? I mean, the non-corporate and perhaps your hobbies and passion.
Well, after being with Infineon for almost 10 years in total and, working for that number of years, so I thought it was time for me to move on to do something that I've never tried before. So I'm quite a bit of a risk taker. I like to take risk, and I like to do a little bit of unconventional things. So I decided to quit my HR job, go into a tech startup. So basically, it was a ride hailing, like what Grab is, for example. So we started something similar to Grab with a different flavor, trying to focus on corporate premium customers, etc. But unfortunately, things didn't work out for us, so we had to close that down. Prior to that, I was also involved in another tech startup in the recruitment arena. So me together with my former partner, we started off a job board catering for Malaysia, India, etc. So that is still running. My partner is still running it, but I've withdrawn myself from there because of my new job that I have. So this is the two that I start. So I actually like quite a bit of technology. I'm not a programmer myself, so I can't do programming or coding. But today's environment, not knowing programming or coding is not an excuse to not get yourself involved in this, because resources are there, applications are there, developers are there. So you just have to put a team together and get things going.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you can pool expertise together and come up with something amazing.
That's right,
yeah. Let's welcome also Sean. Hi, Sean. Hi, Gani. Hi, Shirad. Nice to have you guys here.
Hi, Satish.
Satish, yeah, he came earlier. Well, as we all can obviously see, businesses have been highly affected and reshaped by the pandemic, isn't it? Yeah, some for the better, which is great, but some for the worst. In some companies, the need for the change can be obvious. And one of the ways, actually, like Arul says, is business resizing, As for some others, who were mildly affected, business resizing also can be something that could benefit organizations for the future. The question is how? How can business resize? How can business
benefit?
So actually, we have so many questions to ask our guests today, isn't it, James?
Yes. Have you been affected? That would be my number one question.
Wow.
Everyone has been affected, but your business, if you're a business owner, did you have to go through this exercise of resizing, or were you one of the employees who were resized?
Yeah, put in a chat box below. Let us know your experience too. So if you guys are ready, Arul, are you ready for the questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Just like me, at the beginning of the pandemic, in 2019, 2020, I lost 2 jobs because of the pandemic. He says, we have to. Although, why would you let me go? Come on. But then again, it was for the better, because I always look positively to the future. But forget about me. But my question to you is, the pandemic has reshaped businesses and some have been highly affected. So what options do businesses have today to stay afloat and remain viable?
Okay, so it's no surprise that ever since March last year, many companies were affected. Big, small, large MNCs, even small businesses, family-run businesses, mom and pop shops, and so on. So most of these businesses, or shall I say, quite a number of them are affected. When COVID started, the borders were shut, no travelers, etc.
Yeah.
So we know that many companies struggle. You see, the moment if your cash flow stops or you don't have revenue coming in, you start running into trouble because you can't pay your bills, you can't pay salaries and whatnot, etc. Now for these business owners, starting up a business and then having to put the final nail on the coffin is not something many would want to do. So they would want to keep it afloat as long as possible, hoping that this pandemic, it's done all with, etc. But we know that we have March last year till today. That is
Yeah.
almost about a year and a half,
Correct.
and things are still unclear. So what businesses would have to do is to find ways how to remain viable, how to remain a going concern, but we need to make a little bit of sacrifices, such as probably reducing our headcount so that our payroll load becomes lesser. Probably give up the office, give up part of the shop or part of the unit, etc., to reduce the rental. Probably no more frills, no more certain benefits, etc. So these are things that the businesses would have to do to remain viable.
Yeah, that's right. I had someone telling me at the beginning of pandemic. She said, I actually don't mind taking a pay cut if I can keep most of my, because she was at management level. She said if I could keep my whole team together still, I don't mind. All of us take a bit of pay cut and still keep the team
Correct.
afloat.
Yeah. So
For
pay
the sake
cut,
of the business, isn't it?
you're right.
Yeah.
Pay cut, no pay leave. These are all things that has been happening in the last a year and a half.
That's right.
Laying them off and then rehiring them, like what Asia is trying to do, etc. So many examples of how you can do it to keep your business viable.
That's right.
Pilots are doing Grab services now. It's like
You're right.
pilots are doing.
Food businesses, food
Never
delivery.
never before have we in our lifetime experienced like this heartbreak, and everybody's like, "Hey, where are we going?" Which,
Yeah. Anyway, in Malaysia itself, right, we are still under what? I actually don't know whether it's MCO, EMCO, CMCO.
one of those three letters, just interchange it.
Yeah. Okay. But recently, the government announced on a national recovery plan where a lot of industries are still not allowed to operate as usual, right? So like what, 40 kind of thing. So are they still required to pay salaries for employees who are not at work and still can't work from home? They can't work from home. They can't come to work. Do they still get salaries?
So this is $1 million question. It's $1 million question where many businesses are unsure. Yes, we know the government said that companies would need to ask employees to work from home and you can't deduct pay, etc. But we need to fall back to what the Employment Act says. So our Employment Act work on a basis no work, no pay. That means if you don't work, you don't get paid. So there are certain provisions of the law that need to be tweaked in order to enforce this, instruction by government that employees cannot, must be paid while they work from home. But there are certain jobs that you just can't work from home. For example, a bartender, there's no way you can do this from home. Or someone who's a machinist, you can't do it at home, etc. So this is where the conundrum starts. So employees are unsure. Do I need to put him on work from home and continue paying his salary? Or can I tell him that, well, we are not able to provide work because the situation doesn't allow so? No work done, therefore I don't pay you salary. So these are the two questions. Should I pay? Should I not pay? So the advice given to companies is always this. Try your level best to allow this employee to work from home. If, at the worst case scenario, if they are able to work in office, no issues. But if this job can be done at home, try your level best. But if really cannot be done at home, then you need to explain to the employee that, work cannot be done at home. So we consider no work done, therefore we can't pay you. So what government has done, on the other hand, to support companies is to provide this wage subsidy. So government provide wage subsidy to encourage employees to continue paying their salary. So these are some small, or shall I say, some benefits or some support that government has given to help company to to defray some of their costs.
Oh, that's great. You see, like Gary put in the comment, I'm in the aerospace field. Company went through 2 reductions in 2020. 2. workforce is reduced to 40% only.
40% is huge.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that. Yeah, we know that even our local airlines have gone through a massive cut.
Massive, yeah. That's a bit sad. I'm waiting for the airline industry to come back in action again. Hopefully things improve and they come back in action and get all the pilots back on board and start flying.
Where are we going, Shireen?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Then he says just when the company thought we were at the optimum headcount to survive 2020, workers who were not let go started to quit. That's actually quite interesting. What happens then to the organization?
Okay,
Yeah, what
so
there?
yeah, I can share a little bit. So what happened is some companies have taken pay reduction. So if let's say your salary is 3,000 ringgit, they go for pay reduction. Okay, I only pay you, let's say 1,500. You can't go below minimum wage, so I pay you 1,500.
Yeah.
Now, so these employees can't cope. I mean, if your overhead, your monthly expenses, is about 3,000, you can't cope with 1,500. We know that a lot of employees are hand to mouth. Whatever they earn is paid, goes off, within days.
Yeah.
So employees cannot cope because, and when you are in underemployment, you're not allowed to work for another employer,
Yeah.
right? So that's why, when our members in the forum do ask this question, I would like to go for a pay cut, etc. We always tell the members, be fair, be reasonable, do what is morally right. If you're not able to pay them and you can only pay minimum, etc., either you allow them to do another part-time job so they can, get extra income, pay for their expenses and so on, or just tell the employee, I'm sorry, I cannot pay anymore. I think it's best that we move on. So some of them, because when they are put on no pay leave, or I know some companies are on no pay leave, a long no pay leave, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months no pay leave. How do I? Many of us, or many of the workers, they may not have good capital or good reserves to withstand this period. So what they do is naturally they find another job. So this is what happens in many cases.
Yeah, and finding another new job during the pandemic was not easy, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. So allowing them to do some other part-time job actually was, I think, is a fair thing to do because then they need to live, they need to feed a family.
Exactly.
Because nobody really knew whether should we hire or shouldn't we hire. What are we going to go through? Should we hold on to our reserve, the cash we have, in case something happens? So we still have our business to think about. Business continuity is very important, right? I just have to say a quick hi to Cheryl. Cheryl says hi to Arul, and you were the first HR guy that she met. Cheryl is one of our royal followers. But Arul, I've got a question for you. Business resizing affects employees just as it affects business owners that we talked about earlier. What are the rights of an employee when businesses embark on resizing activity? What can employees do if they have been terminated unlawfully by companies under the pretext of business resizing or business shutdown?
Yeah.
And if you guys, again, if you had experienced this, please put it in the chat.
Yeah. So let me take a step back. So the advice to companies is always this: always go for a win-win situation. To be on the safe side. As much as we try to look at things from the company's perspective, but also look at things from the employee's perspective. A safe bet is always to go for win-win. Normally, if it's a win-win situation, win-win arrangement, or win-win, agreement, employees will say that, okay, it's negotiation. You negotiate with the employee, etc. So what rights an employee have is, so we know that in Malaysia, we have our Employment Act. We have this Employment Act, but it only covers certain group. It covers those employees whose salary is below 2,000 and those who are involved in manual work. Then we have the other group, the executives, the sales guys, and so on, who are not covered in this group. So the law is quite clear for those under Employment Act. So if an employee who's covered by Employment Act, if they are terminated, there's a amount that's got to be paid. The termination benefit has got to be paid. 10 days if you're below 2 years of service, 15 days if you're between 2 to 5 years, and 20 days if you're above 5 years. But those who are outside of the ambit of Employment Act, the law is silent. So companies have an option to pay a termination benefit or not to pay a termination benefit. So the notice period, yes, if you want them to go immediately, you have to pay the notice period because it's stated in the employment contract. But with regards to termination benefits, the law is silent. So that's why we heard, one of the airlines in Malaysia, when they let go of their pilots, they did not pay. I mean, they only paid a small separation, money. Yeah.
Did they have the money to pay the balance of the
Well,
SEPA?
yeah. See, some companies they do have, but some of them are in a situation where the moment cash flow stops, they have no money to pay.
Correct.
So there was also a member, one of our members who had they had to size down, they had to retrench their workers, but they could not afford to pay.
Then how?
And they explained to the employee, I can't afford to pay, but what I'll do is I will pay you on an installment basis. I'll pay this money to you in the next, I can't recall how many months was that, 8 months. So out of all employees, majority accepted, one or two went to labor office to, file a case saying that, company did not pay me. So I think a small hearing is ongoing. But majority of them, they say, I can understand, I will accept this. Yeah. So
This is
Coming
what
from
is-
a legal perspective,
what is important is win-win. Yeah.
yeah,
a lot of local Malaysian employment contracts, we never really, going off topic, put this force majeure as part of the employment contract. But then when pandemic happened, everybody went, oh, this would be our safety net in case we have to let you go. We can use this as saying, we have to let you go because of
Yeah.
this particular clause.
Yeah.
Let me comment on this force majeure. Now, in Malaysia, most employment contracts, we don't have this clause. And there's also quite a bit of discussion on, whether this force majeure or FM, let's call it FM for short form. So whether this FM clause makes sense in Malaysia. So there's two schools of thought. One is, if we have this under the Malaysian Contracts Act, it covers. But there's another school of thought that says that, so long as the Malaysian employment laws are not amended to accommodate this force majeure or FM, it is not, you can't enforce it. So there's two schools of thought. Now, how do we know which one prevails? Until a case goes to court, until a court makes a ruling, it becomes a case law, then we can say, okay, this is not relevant. But again, at this moment, we are still stuck with these two. So, because there's one aspect of the Employment Act that doesn't cover the pandemic situation. Yeah.
And they have to, adding on to that, you need to use words, specific, detailed words like pandemic or epidemic or, these words.
Yeah. So unless, a case goes to court makes a ruling, we will still remain in this situation, because our Employment Act says that so long as an employee is ready to discharge or, ready to work, company must provide work. But here's a situation where employees are ready to provide work, but the government, the law says you can't provide work now. You can't run your operate company. So this situation is not addressed clearly.
All right, let's ask our audience a question. We see some coming in, but let's welcome Noel first. He said he sneaks into the packed LinkedIn live session and grabs a chair.
My man.
Yeah, very expressive. So, question to your audience. Yay. Virtual bump fist. So, audience, how have your organization or your businesses been affected by the pandemic? Are you undergoing any kind of business resizing in your organization, or if you're a business owner, have you done any business resizing? Let us know in the chat box, as we would love to know. So, actually, there is something from Gary. You want to take that, James?
Yeah, Gary says, so now that the industry is picking up in the US, and hey, hello, down in Singapore as well, I just heard over the radio, their mama stalls were open and there was a huge crowd just to buy roti canai. Anyway, it's more stable. Let me read that again. I got lost with the roti canai bit. The experienced employees we let go has found other more stable jobs, are not willing to come back. and we can't hire fast enough to fill positions available. Many still consider aerospace a volatile industry, so they rather work in other industry. We are still losing people every week. Wow, every week. We lost 2 people in supply chain this week alone. Recruitment is so slow that HR is offering recruitment bonus if current employees can bring in new employees. Wow.
That's painful, isn't
Every
it?
week, people are leaving.
Yeah, not easy to manage, I'm sure. So,
That's true. Yeah, I would like to chip in a little bit here.
uh-huh.
So this goes back to also employee engagement. So it's true that airline industry is a volatile industry, but I'm very sure many out there would still prefer to go back, or to return, to make a return, or to make a comeback to the airline industry, for reasons best known to them. It is still a sexy industry to some extent. It's glamorous for some, etc.
Did you just
So
call my name?
so for example, let's take the example of air stewardess and air steward. This is one of the job that is probably a better paying job than them doing something else. So I'm very sure some of them would want to go back. Pilots would want to go back, but those in support functions, for example, those in HR, those in supply chain, those in finance, etc., they may say, yeah, I think this industry is always up and down. Tomorrow, if another pandemic hits or another SARS version, virus is out, we are finished again. So I think it depends on which pockets of employees are we talking about.
Yeah.
And guess what, Shireen? Andreas is no longer a guest. We can see him.
Yes, we can finally see him. Andreas, roti chana, and teh tarik in Mama stall on
Yeah.
us. Once things
Andreas is for your information, is from Harry Potter. He wears the cloak,
Oh.
the invisible cloak, and he appears as a guest. But now, no more cloak because the pandemic has removed it.
And now we can see him. And hi, Tandem, also welcome. So yeah, so we are on for roti chana and teh tarik with Andreas once things
Yes.
get well. Yeah, Arul, you too, man. We shall
Looking
all
forward
go
to
out
it.
together.
Looking forward
So
to
I
it.
got another question. Great. I got another question for you, Arul. There are organizations that aren't that badly affected, but joining the bandwagon of retrenchment to make more profits, I feel it's so not right. But there are organizations out there who do that, right? So, since we don't want any organizations to take any advantage of the current situation, are there any prerequisites that companies have to follow before they retrench any employee?
Okay, so yeah, that's true as well. And I think what has happened in Malaysia many years ago, I think it's in the early 80s, there was something called as the Code of Conduct for Industrial Harmony, which was an agreement between the government and the Malaysian Employees Federation back then. So they have laid down a couple of protocols or a couple of guidelines that companies should follow before going into retrenchment, because the last thing that companies should do from the government's perspective is to retrench. So if we can do other measures to save the job, we should go for it. So what companies could do, we did touch on some points earlier on. We should limit recruitment. We should reduce overtime or restrict overtime. Restrict work on a weekly, whether it's a rest day or a public holiday. If it's manufacturing or companies that operate in shifts, reduce the number of shifts, reduce number of work days. Stop deploying people here and there, etc. Cut your frills. Company annual dinner. So try to reduce costs first before reducing employee. So this is some basic protocols that companies are expected to follow.
I think to think positively, you should not look at this entire pandemic as a setback, but reframing using. I hope Nelly comes and watches this one day. Nelly is our NLP guru. Reframe that and say, instead of a setback, it is a set up for something greater. Yeah.
For a comeback.
Reframe. I've got a question. What is the difference between retrenchment and mutual separation or voluntary separation?
Okay.
We have a few questions as well. We'll get to that, but tell us about that. What's a voluntary mutual?
So now, when a company undertakes retrenchment, I don't need to seek your acceptance.
Mm.
So we inform the labor office, business is no good, therefore we're going to retrench this number of people. So there is a prior notification that we need to submit to the companies need to submit to
Yes.
the labor office. And once it's submitted, okay, these are employees, this is what I pay you, and off you go. But if you are not carrying out, so retrenchment is more or less something that is forced through by company.
Mm.
But if you are not going for a retrenchment, but you just want volunteers to say, okay, I will leave the company. So why should someone leave the company if there's nothing in for them? So this is where the voluntary separation. So company announces a package. So let's say if we are looking for employees to depart from the company. We're giving 1 month per year service. So employees actually submit their interest to take up this package. So can a company force through a voluntary separation? You can't. It's voluntary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Similarly, mutually means you discuss, you negotiate a package, and you take a step. You leave the company. Earlier on, I did mention that certain employees who don't fall under the Employment Act, companies are not obliged to pay them. But most companies, especially the larger ones, MNCs, GLCs, irrespective of your position in the company, they do
Mm.
give some sort of a separation package. So typically, we are quite accustomed to 1 month per year of service and so on.
Ah. CA actually says the gig economy actually opened up so many opportunities these days, which is very true. It is common for business owners to lose employees because employees can earn much more
Yeah.
as a Grab or Food Panda delivery rider in a week than what they can earn in a month in an organization. So, well, they know how to choose well, I guess. And Gary's being quite cute. Aerospace is glamorous, like you said.
Glamorous. Yeah.
It sounds good when I tell everyone I'm a rocket engineer. I like that. But I'm just an office boy in the company.
You're the rocket man, like Elton John sings, rocket man. Gary, come on.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think,
cute.
yeah, it's quite true. The gig economy provided some lifeline to these employees who
Yeah,
are retrenched,
true.
lost their job. But whether they'll
Something
stay
like
in,
that you can fall back on, right?
exactly, yeah, you can supplement income and so on. But whether some of them will do this permanently, it's a big question mark. Once
Yes.
things recover, you see, not everyone is willing to. Many of us, I'm sure some of us, we want a confirmed safety net every month. We want a fixed
Mhm.
income because you want to enjoy your weekends and so on. So being a Grab driver or Food Panda delivery rider it's not easy. A lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
You put yourself at risk while delivering and so on. So
Correct.
yeah, it is quite a risk as well. Rain, sun. If you don't go out there to pick up the food and deliver the food, you don't get money for
There's
the
no
day. So
money.
it's as
I mean,
easy as that.
unlike us, we are at home. We are not out there, so their risk factor is even more because they are literally out there
Exactly.
getting
Yep.
food and then
You're
delivering
right.
food, and you don't know who is infected, etc. I mean, salute to everyone who has gone onto this. I mean,
Right.
you guys are,
Riders.
yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are our
That's true.
yeah.
Actually, I also salute them because I think every organization has a KPI of delivery time that they have to follow.
Mm.
So sometimes I'm at a traffic light and it's red, and this fella just goes off because they have to meet the deadline. So
and,
it
and
is,
you know what? I just sorry to say this, but I just learned about giving a star rating for the deliverers and tips as well.
yeah.
And I was like, what? I can give a star rating and tip. I was like, okay, every time I order Grab food, I'll give, regardless, whether he puts it whatever, 5 star and maximum or minimum 6 ringgit tip. I mean,
Yeah.
every little helps.
It's not an easy job, I must say. Anyway,
That's
let
right.
me ask Arul another question. How does an organization decide on which employee to retrench? We've always heard about the LIFO, last in,
Mm.
first out, when retrenching an employee. So, what's your thought on that?
Or
Do
like
you
Malaysian, instead of LIFO is ini, mini, mini, mo.
which
Okay.
one was mini, mini, mini,
Yeah.
or LIFO?
Yeah. So the good thing again is the code of conduct for industrial harmony again gives quite a clear guideline as to how companies should approach this. So first and foremost, when we retrench an employee, the foreigners would have to go first. Okay, yeah, the foreigners would have to go first. And then when we come into locals, again, we look at job category. It doesn't mean, let's say, we have got operators and managers. Just because the manager is a foreigner, he goes first. You need to also look at the job category of the employee. So foreign always goes first. So let's say we're looking, if you're, for a manufacturing organization, they've got local operators, foreign operators. Typically, the foreign operator goes first. Now, so if retrenchment becomes necessary, companies, of course, companies are expected to, required to give early warning for those affected employees, introduce voluntary retrenchment, and pay them the redundancy or retirement benefits. Employees who are retiring, let them also go first, because they don't have much time left before the retirement comes up. And then, of course, when we look at employee category, those who came in last, meaning that their years of service is shorter, they go first. So these are some basic protocols. So there are many case laws that gives guidance as to how companies should approach this. So any organization that is planning to retrench, read out some of these case laws, because it tells you what you can do, what you cannot do, how to do, and so on and so forth. But of course, quite a bit of reading is required. Now, if in a situation arises where companies cannot follow last in first out for some technical reasons, etc., so companies can deviate from a last in first out approach, but you must have a compelling reason why you deviate. Because the employee is unhappy, why am I being asked to go when I have been here longer than this particular employee or this particular chap? So the company's justification has got to be compelling enough to convince, let's say if this case goes to court, to convince the court that, the reason why we did not follow last in first out is because of this, this, and this. So if the reasoning is acceptable, I would say company decision is will be upheld by the court. So it's important to follow these prerequisites, and where companies need to deviate, there must be a sound reason, a compelling reason to convince the whoever it be that we have done the right steps, and this is why we do it this way and not the other way.
I have a question for our audiences. Any one of you, or do you know anyone who has been let go without following the process and are currently, pursuing an IR case? Okay, but I have a question for you, Arul. Retrenchment is not the only result of business resizing, right? There is also salary reduction. What are the steps that the company would need to do to execute salary reduction, layoff, or retrenchment exercise? Earlier, you said that you have to inform, blah, blah, blah. Is it the steps, and is it tedious? Do we need to fill a lot of forms? Do we need to queue up and hand in the forms? What are we looking at for business owners who are or affected or are going to be affected?
Yeah. So so taking a step back, so typically salary reduction happens first before retrenchment, because we try to reduce costs and save the job. Once we have done cost reduction and we are still unable to save a job, then we go for retrenchment. So the Employment Act is has made this very clear. Any companies intending to carry out salary reduction or retrenchment exercise or layoff exercise, they need to notify the Labour Office. So there is a form called Borang PK. So they need to fill up this PK form and notify Labour Office 30 days prior to carrying out these exercises.
30 days.
You got to fill up the form. There's quite a bit of details required. Which are the employees? Your memo, this, that, etc. But it's not something complex. It's tedious but not complex. Right. So they need to fill up this form, notify Labour Office. It's notification. It's not approval from Labour Office. Labour Office will not say yes or no, can or cannot. So it's a mere notification to the Labour Office that we intend to carry out these exercises. So of course, Labour Office will require certain details from you, submit it, and then there's also a post follow-up notification that need to be done. So it's quite simple, quite straightforward. But there are some small businesses that are not aware. They thought, okay, if I want, I can just retrench or reduce salary. No. So this is there. Why is this being put in place? To protect the employees' rights.
Okay, so I have another question. One is, like you said, you need to fill up all these forms, and you did mention that you have to also provide names of those that you're going to let go, not just saying that we have 100 staff, we're letting go of 20, but they have to literally list down their names.
Yes. Yep. So you will be the form requires you to give the names of affected employees. So labor office would need to know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if let's say hypothetically a business owner has a foreigner as an employee and he is essential to the business, without him we cannot do anything or cannot run because he is a subject matter expert. So, and you said that they would be the first to go. So what options do we have in that scenario?
Yeah. So now, if as I mentioned earlier on, if companies need to deviate from the last in first out approach for technical reasons, so what one is as what you have just mentioned. This guy is a subject matter expert. I need him. So I'm letting go the local first and not this particular guy. Let's see now. The employment regulations in Malaysia allows company to restructure the business, and usually the courts don't interfere in how you restructure the business, etc. So long as your exercise is genuine, it's bona fide, and you don't you don't cherry pick employees, etc. There's a reason why you do so. So long as you do it in this manner, I would say you'll be safe. But if let's say you have got two, let me give you a very typical example. Two employees of the same capability, both are subject matter experts. Okay, the foreign employee has been with the company for, let's say, 5 years. The local employee has been with the company for, let's say, 3 years. Now, both are subject matter experts. Now, who should you let go first? The foreigner or the local? Now, if you follow last in, first out, the foreign goes first, because why? The whatever the foreign guy can do, the local chap can do as well. So what will be a compelling reason to ask the local to go first and not the foreign? So if, let's say, if he is a subject matter expert in an upcoming project, where the company is going to survive on it or the company's livelihood depends on it, whereas this local chap who's also a subject matter expert, but that is not his area of expertise. So such a reason could be something valid to be explained. So we need to look into each circumstances of.
Yeah. Well, let's I see that the audience, do you guys have more questions for us? Because Arul is a subject matter expert and he can answer a lot of your questions.
Please do.
So shoot us with any questions if you have, while I ask Arul another question. What is a penalty actually if companies fail to follow a protocol set by the labor law?
Yeah. So well, you see, things start to things start to go in a difficult way when employee walks out the labor office and says that I've been retrenched. And typically what the labor officer will do is to see whether there's a notification given to labor office, and whether his name is that's why the name is important. Now, let's say the employee lodge a report to the labor office that I've been retrenched, etc. Now the labor office would then study the case and they will invite the company to explain, etc. Now, if a company failed to notify the labor office, there's a penalty of 10,000 ringgit. And if the case is not resolved, I think if I remember, the company will be penalized 100 ringgit every day until the case gets settled.
Wow.
So for some company, 10,000 is no big deal. No big deal. But like I said,
is that all? Okay, I might as well just pay.
And of course, in most cases, you can always appeal for reduction and so on. But I think the objective is not really about the fine, etc., but is to do what is morally right.
Correct.
Because end of the day is yes, as much as we want to save the company, but also look into the employee's welfare. Especially if the employee has been with you for a long period of time. The company grew partly because of him, right? So employers, being an employer, they need to do what is not just legally right, but also morally right.
I just want to read Gary again. Gary, I'm starting to believe you're an astronaut. Not astronaut, but astronaut. Gary says, I've always been in aerospace industry. In 2001, 2009 and 11. I was let go when the company I worked for went bankrupt. I have to ask you, Gary, were these aerospace companies in Malaysia, or were they out of Malaysia, or were they out of space? That's my question for you, right? Just put it in the chat. And he says that, luckily, his wife is in an industry that never has any downturns. Amazing, right? And one of the things that they always do is what I always tell is always during this time, don't look at it as a setback. Use it as a setup to upskill yourself. If you have any gaps in your skills, this is the time to actually get those skills in, right? Nalini says most employees from small, medium enterprises are not aware of the rightful way of how salary reduction should be done by employer. As such, some employers may just proceed without obtaining consent from employees. Our HR minister has recently launched WFW. Is this something like fighting?
No, it's actually a platform where workers can put up a formal complaint to alert the HR ministry.
Yeah.
Of their current issues,
Yep.
of the issues they're having,
So if they face any such situations.
You see, all these aerospace companies were in the US.
Raja Sundram, on the other hand, is assuming client wants the foreigners to handle the project. What do we do? Can we let go the local staff, Arul?
So I think it goes back
Good
to what I was
question.
saying just now. Yeah. So goes back to what I was trying to say just now. Now, if the particular skill set, it cannot be done by local employee, or the local employee do not have that particular skill set, so that's a compelling reason. That's a good reason to retain the foreigner and not the local. So because why? When this case goes, if let's say, if it becomes a case, the court is quite fair. They look at equity, they look at good conscience. They don't really look into the technicalities of the case, but they really study, what is the company's justification of retaining the foreigner and not the local. And this is where you put up your defense. We are retaining him because he has this particular, he's an SME, or he has got this particular experience that is required for our survival for this particular project, etc. So long as the reason given is justifiable, the court is able to understand why you have done so. To me, we have seen cases where the court says that the company's decision is acceptable.
So for companies, always remember, you need to know.
Yep.
There's no excuse, right? That these are already, that the rules, regulations are there, like you said, right? The process is not tedious, right? And for employees, you also need to know your rights. So like you said, it's a win-win situation. I like my brother-in-law, CA, says, trying his hand in selling satay as we are coming to the end of our show. No satay.
Yep.
It's toast in a jiffy and curry in a hurry.
Yeah. So let me just share with you another thing to look at. Now, some of the keywords that we need to remember. So now, sometimes I always like to share, advice, whoever that I speak to.
Yeah.
Now, even if you do not know what does Employment Act says, actually, Employment Act is not rocket science. If we apply our common sense,
rocket science, I like that.
Yeah, if we apply our common sense, so long as the exercise is genuine, it is not done with bad intention, we are not shortchanging employees, you'll always be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Like you say.
If there's a genuine reason why we need to retain this foreigner and not the local employee, there's a genuine reason. To me, it's fine. Go ahead.
There's a business case to retain, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the business has to survive because they pay more taxes than individuals.
So we also know of companies, who took advantage of pandemic situation to claim that the company is not doing well, business is no good, etc. But in the actual scenario, they are not. They are doing quite okay, or shall I say, they are not affected.
Yeah.
So there was a particular case that went into industrial court. So this company retrenched this particular, retrenched employees. Typically, someone would file a case. The court actually scrutinized whether the company was in real financial distress.
That's a
So
good one.
the court actually scrutinized their financial statement, and so from the statement, it is found that looks like financially you're okay. So why did you retrench these people? So retrenchment should only be done when you really, really, really cannot sustain anymore. So financially, you're down and out.
Correct.
So, I mean, I would say not all employees are angels. Some of them, they do take advantage. So just take note that, if you do it, and if somebody contests against this decision of yours, this could be potentially, be challenged in court. And this is, another possibility. The court may say, okay, let us look at your financial statements.
Yeah.
So this has happened before.
And Cheryl says, I'm an expat, so there is no chance for me at all. It's okay, Cheryl. You will do well.
All the time.
Yeah.
So
how,
guys,
tell us, how do we connect with you, Arul, if we need more information?
Okay. So first of all, I would like to invite whoever is in the session today to join the Malaysia HR Forum. It's a group in Facebook. So I'm there. You'll see my name everywhere. So we also have quite a bit of IR practitioners, experienced IR sifus, I would say, with the likes of Haji Hussein, Tosyu Pat, and many others. So do join us because we do discuss a lot of these topics. A lot of IR topics. We also do provide quite a bit of documentations and whatnot, etc. So any aspiring HR leaders or anyone in HR, you want somebody to talk to, you need certain feedback from the crowd. So join us in the forum, because when you are having certain doubts or you have something that you need clarity, post your question, and you will get feedback and reply. Then you evaluate to see whether it makes sense, and take the next step.
Thank you so much, Arul. It's been such an informative session. I'm sure as usual, we've got like so many questions. We are at the end of our session for the day, so we would like to thank our guests. Thank you so much, Arul. It's been so nice of you to forego lunch and be with us.
Waiting for your lunch invite.
Oh, we will.
Soon. Yeah. We would like to thank you for great advice, and also the connection that you're going to share with us later. For most of all, this is a serious discussion. Arul, before we end, would you like to share with our audience your social media links and how they can reach you in case they have any further questions or want to build connection other than your HR forum?
On the chat box.
On the chat box. Is it a private chat?
It's in the chat box. In the comment section. You can get in touch with Arul anytime on his social media links, which are already put up in the chat box. And Satish, your question has been answered. Join the HR forum. Yeah, you will get a lot of information there, and part of it, there's a lot of sharing. You can ask any questions, and there are a lot of people who will help. And Arul is always sharing, always never selfish with information. So he's always sharing every day that there's something new. So it's a wonderful group to join.
And
so
we
guys,
are all about sharing information. We don't keep it to ourselves. This is what we're about. This is what this show is about.
That's right. We share out. So our next episode, guys, is in 2 weeks' time. Same time, same place, 25th August. So make sure you register in advance. We will send you the link. In fact, the link is probably somewhere there too. And register, and you will get a reminder. And don't forget to connect to all of us. Of course, Arul, James, and myself on our social media.
And if you're looking for ways to engage with your team members, to connect with your colleagues through the activities, whatever it is which is training based, please do email us at training@compassmind.com. So till next time, stay at home, stay safe, have a joyful and productive lockdown. We'll see you guys on the next episode of HR Intervention.
HR Intervention. Serious discussion. Oh,
see you guys. Yep.
Bye.
Bye. See you all.
Thank you, everyone. See you all. Thanks, Arul.
Thanks, Arul. Bye.